Good evening. Thank you very much indeed for remaining. Please stay with me. Normally in the old world, at this point of the conference, chairs would be turning over, people would be rushing for the doors, trying to catch flights and trains, grab the available cabs. And it's probably even easier in a virtual environment to simply click the leave button and sneak off for a very well-deserved glass of wine. But if you do grant me 5 more minutes of your time, I promise to make it worthwhile for you. Over the last day and a half, we have had a fabulous debate at this Digital Monetary Institute Symposium. We've had a global audience reaching at times 1,500 participants from over 120 countries, stretching all around the world, from both public and private sectors, from the financial sector and elsewhere. We've had a vibrant debate from a knowledgeable audience, from expert speakers. We haven't always agreed, but we have really explored in detail and at an extraordinarily high level. And you can catch up on all of the sessions at your leisure by downloading the videos, which are available for a month, either on the ONFIF DMI website or indeed on the Snapcard website. So it's all there. You can watch again and again and enjoy. Now, I would like to make half a dozen personal predictions rather than bore you by summarizing everything that everybody's said already. You can catch up with that. I can guarantee that most, if not all, of my predictions will probably turn out to be wrong, but I would like to try them off with you. So the first is that we are standing on the threshold of a significant transformation globally of financial services, of the financial economy, and of the competitive dynamics within that economy, both in private and public sectors, being driven by a combination of technology, particularly digitization, innovation, and entrepreneurialism, all accelerated by a tragic pandemic. In 10 years' time, we will look back on this as the launch pad, the starting point of the transition into a digital economy, Internet Mark III, if you like. And not all of the current incumbents are going to survive. Some will adapt very well and prosper. Not all of the current structures we enjoy will survive. Some will. And not all of the innovators and entrepreneurs coming into the markets and creating the energy will survive either. Historically, the vast majority of trailblazers and pioneers ended up getting scalped. We only hear about the ones that survived. So not all will succeed. I think in 10 years' time, there will be elements that look very familiar to us, an awful lot that won't. Prediction 2, for retail central bank digital currency, it's not a question of if, but when. 80 to 100 banks around the world are now actively engaged in exploring how to introduce it. Those that do not will face major threats to the sovereignty of their currencies and indeed to the control of their economies. In the case of the store of value, a trusted mechanism for payment, it is very largely going to be a question of digitize it or lose it. Because my third prediction is that private currencies, either fully asset-backed or not, in a myriad of forms with a multiplicity of functionality, will become commonplace. Quite a lot of them will disappear without trace or become mere collector's items. In some other parts of the world, some of the successful ones will displace weak fiat currencies or fiat currencies that have forsaken the trust of their citizens. However, I think that cryptocurrencies will not be a major payment instrument, but they will be a major asset class. They will be traded and built upon in capital markets, but without necessarily being significant payment instruments. But I think some other private currencies will challenge quite significantly and will become important. Fourth prediction, I think there is going to be significant growth and transformation in the digitization of capital markets and asset trading markets, both in what I would call chunky, large value asset classes, things like property, equity markets, and so forth, but also in the development of entirely new markets, principally around non-fungible tokens. And I think that's going to lead to a greater democratization of finance, and along with private currencies is going to lead to a much greater growth in financial inclusion. Fifthly, I think that cross-border currency competition between both state actors and private competitors will increase significantly, will become quite intense in certain areas, and will at times threaten major disruption to the global financial order. And that leads to my final prediction, which is we're going to see a very interesting mix of private and public partnerships, cooperation, but also competition. And we are going to have to see far more global public cooperation in terms of setting the essential regulatory architecture for this new world, and that is going to require some new thinking and some new approaches at the global public level. And the word interoperability will be much on everybody's lips in the next 5 years, whether that's technological, whether that's operational, whether that's legal, or whether that's regulatory. My final prediction is that we're not looking at a binary future in terms of currencies and digital assets. We're looking at a very complex, multipolar mosaic of private and public actors, of global competitors, of local activities, and of competing formats and ideas. It's going to be a fascinating place. OMFIF DMI is hoping to be there and comment upon it. And I would say thank you to everybody for being here. We have amongst this audience the leading actors, so some of the major leading actors in this transformation for the future. So it remains to me to thank our symposium partners and sponsors. Without you, this would not have happened. To thank our DMI members and hope that we've encouraged a few more of you to think about membership. Membership has its values, as somebody once said. I'd like to thank all our speakers and panelists and contributors. We've had a lot of original, first-rate thinking and contribution today. I've certainly learned a lot. It's been stimulating. It's been interesting. I'd like to thank all participants, both for being here and for your questions, for your participation in the polling. We hope you found the networking opportunities useful. And I would also really like to thank my OMFIF colleagues and team members, both on screen and off screen, for a tremendous effort in both preparing and delivering what I think has been a memorable experience. And fingers crossed, the technology has worked perfectly throughout. I can't think how we would have connected 1,500 people worldwide in such a fashion without it. So in closing, I would say I hope you have enjoyed today. I hope you've been stimulated, intrigued, challenged. I hope you've agreed and disagreed with some of the dialogue, and that you continue to do so. The Digital Monetary Institute prides itself on providing a forum and a colloquium for the public and private sector to get together and thrash these issues out. Sometimes they will agree with each other and sometimes they won't, but they will always learn from each other. And we hope to see you again, hopefully in person, at the next symposium, which we're scheduling for April 2022, date to be announced, but please hold that in your diary. And in the meantime, if I may alert you to the fact that the Digital Monetary Institute continues with more dialogue, more meetings. We have one coming up with Visa next week, and on April 13th we have a session with Sir John Cunliffe of the Bank of England, which I hope many of you can attend, and the list goes on. I also hope we'll be able soon to travel and to visit each other. In the meantime, I hope you all stay, you and your families all stay very, very well. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much for joining us over the last day and a half. Have a very good evening, and good night from OMFIF, and good night from London. Thank you.